Welcome to another World Numismatic Finds Breakdown, and today we're diving straight into the top 4 United Kingdom 3 pence coins that are becoming shockingly aggressive silent money makers in the collector space. The 1943 3 pence in circulating condition, the 1941 3 pence in dirty condition, the 1954 3 pence in dilapidated condition and the 1967 3 pence in rusty condition are now quietly being hunted across the UK by sharp collectors who know exactly where the hidden value is sitting. These don't look museum fresh. They look ordinary, imperfect, unattractive, and that is exactly why they are becoming increasingly dangerous profit traps, because the majority throw them away or ignore them. The UK audience needs to stay alert, because these wartime and post-war brutal surviving pieces are proving again that the old British penny metals, nickel brasses, ugly tears, corrosion patterns and time scars are now turning into the very reason advanced collectors are willing to pay real premiums. These 4 can become the next sleepers that the masses will regret not catching early. Let's begin with the United Kingdom brass 3 pence coin from the year 1943 in circulating condition. People are waking up to this exact era now because this coinage is 82 years old now, and collectors globally are noticing that the Queen Elizabeth II modern hype is automatically pulling earlier George VI era British small denominations upwards as well, because the collectors are now trying to secure older era holdings before they turn into extremely unreachable niches. The 1943 brass 3 pence coin is now showing signs that the future value ceiling is not even remotely established yet. It looks like another coin category which can start outperforming if you simply secure earlier grade before the US collectors fully get involved. So this coin today looks like one of the strongest sleeper micro categories in British vintage base coin collecting under $10 entry region but rising quickly. This coin sits in the historical Middle War age. This is the wartime George VI era. The United Kingdom Mint was issuing 3 pence pieces in brass with a monarch portrait of King George VI on the obverse side and the reverse side design showing the thrift plant within 12-sided brass geometry. The head side is extremely traditional wartime British monarch portrait engraving where the king profile represents authority, stability and survival under wartime pressures. The back side with the thrift plant and streamlined sharp angled polygonal edges symbolizes thrift, make-do culture, rationing, controlling resources and national resilience. This is why this coin carries enormous cultural power. The design is not random. It is wartime national messaging in metal form. 1943 is heavy war year. Every single specimen that survived circulation is literally direct war-era financial metal that paid real-world wartime British life cost. The 1943 3 pence coin carries weight of approximately 6.8 grams of brass metal. The coin is 12-sided, which is extremely distinctive and impossible to confuse with any other British denomination shape. When you hold this coin in hand, you immediately feel wartime era thickness. Vintage UK 3 pence coins from this era are very iconic because no other major world power copied this geometry at scale during this particular period, and this is why collectors love these. Collectors are always extremely attracted to this coin because it is simple to understand, war age, cheap to enter, and has continuous rising demand internationally. Nobody is dumping these. People are accumulating and hoarding these. Circulating condition does not destroy value here because this coin type already narrates war-era real usage. This coin is still common enough to be bought, but 82-year-old circulating survivors are drying out one by one every single year. This is why the 1943 is turning into quiet high-demand material for long-term UK collectors. In the current market right now in the United States and international collector marketplaces, a 1943 3 pence coin in circulated condition is generally selling in the average today zone of around $500 to $1,000. Sometimes cleaner, nicer circulating examples go slightly higher depending on seller audience, but this is the realistic working average now. And this is not a ceiling. This is very early accumulation stage type pricing. This category is showing early stage exponential trending behavior, and many UK channel collectors now are holding these coins in quantity stacks as hedge items because wartime British base metal is predicted potentially to behave like silent yield boosters in the next micro coin boom cycle. Collectors who want to secure good future positions should always store these in dry clean condition, avoid additional corrosion, and keep these coins in archival flips where the brass metal remains stable and not further compromised. The 1943 3 pence has a very natural long-term collector magnetism because it is cheap right now, war historically iconic, and internationally recognizable. So that is why this coin deserves more attention. The 1943 wartime UK 3 pence in circulating grade today is one of the most aggressively undervalued British war-era coins available to normal everyday collectors. This is one of the most enjoyable low-risk, high-potential future reward war-year British numismatic entries available right now. If you like extremely old World War coins with extremely low entry pricing and extremely high potential future yield, This one belongs in your priority acquisition queue. Next up, the 1941 UK brass 3 pence piece. This piece in dirty condition today is now heavily reanalyzed, heavily researched, and is quietly becoming a high hunt target coin because wartime brass in circulation genuinely has its own life fossil effect locked into the metal surface, and this pushes emotional appeal, historical appeal and collector layer appeal far more aggressively than it did 10 or 15 years before. This is not a tiny side coin. This is one of the silent gold-toned looking British working class era war spending coins, and in 1941, Britain was inside full pressure-shaped economy, rationing, direct fear of invasion, night bombings, and every part of currency was survival energy, not luxury production. That background alone makes this specific year far more fascinating because this is a coin that lived inside history, not outside history. The obverse side, the head side, carries the portrait of King George VI, and this portrait carries the wartime command feel rather than ceremonial monarchy feel. The reverse tail side shows the iconic three-headed thrift plant design, which for millions of people symbolizes wartime simplicity, wartime identity, wartime minimalism, and wartime unity of the British Isles. This symbol is extremely valued in modern collectors because it represents the nation keeping culture alive under maximum threat. This tiny shape is proper wartime psychology printed into brass metal. When you hold a dirty conditioned one today, that surface dirt actually shows original circulation living experience, that lost untouched original urn circulation that now is considered flavor, not defect. This piece weighs around 6.8 grams of brass, which is a solid heavier feel coin. At that time, this weight and hexagonal shape was very fresh for people, and this coin basically became the UK's small denomination that built civilian survival transactions day after day. The 3 pence of 1941 therefore holds heavy cultural and historical depth because the UK economy was not stable, not safe, and not predictable. These coins travelled through shelters, factories, food lines, and travel networks. This is why collectors today respect this coin far more than earlier catalogue books admitted. Collectors who chase wartime British currency now see the 1941 year as strong desirable stock because surviving proper dirty original condition pieces which are not scrubbed, not polished, and not artificially brightened are becoming harder each single month because people keep cleaning them wrongly. The dirt on a genuine circulation example is proof of authenticity era movement. This specific 1941 year is not ultra-rare like low mintage gold sovereign level, but it is a demand stacking type coin. When supply gets absorbed into collections permanently, market rises quietly and permanently. Today, in today's active coin market, a very dirty circulated condition 1941 3 pence can sell around $400 to as much as $1,200 depending on how original the dirt looks, how undamaged the edges are, and whether the coin looks like true wartime survivor, not manipulated modern clean version. Collectors who want to add this year should keep original dirt intact, store in soft protective flips, not PVC damage flips, and avoid introducing unnatural brightening chemical cleaning because that kills collector trust instantly. Collectors should also always compare with reference photographs, always check that the hexagonal strike is still crisp enough to prove genuine style, and learn to accept that this type of coin is a money fossil, not a modern mint proof. The coin must look like it lived through history, not like it came out of jewelry shop. That is what pushes price forward nowadays. In conclusion, the 1941 UK 3 pence, even in dirty condition, stands as a powerful British wartime heritage artifact that is gaining acceleration in collector circles and continues to climb demand curves year by year because the new generation now values story era and wartime atmospheric metal texture more than perfection. This coin is affordable entry, easy access entry, but high future potential stacking entry. And any collector who respects emotional cultural history in coins should not sleep on this piece. This is the type of sleeper coin that turns into future UK coin celebrity when circulation story-based collecting becomes the global dominant strategy. Next up, the UK 3 pence coin from the year 1954, and especially when you find one in a dilapidated and badly abused condition. Even if this coin looks weak, broken, heavily circulated, damaged, dull, eroded, or naturally aged and exhausted by time and storage shock, this exact year still now holds very heavy silent respect in the world of UK numismatics because collectors know the secret behind 1954, and that is why this coin is now openly rising again in attention, in speculation, in research value, and in dollar conversion potential in international coin trades. Many UK audience still underestimate this year because it is not widely marketed or pushed like other famous 3 pence legends, but in 2025 this coin is slowly becoming the high surprise sleeper under the Queen Elizabeth II early range for this denomination. This coin belongs to the early post-coronation period under Queen Elizabeth II, which automatically gives strong relevance because 1954 was not a huge wide striking year like other 3 pence years, and this coin comes before decimalization shock and before heavy trend mass mintings. On the obverse side you see the head side representation showing Queen Elizabeth II young first portrait. This portrait today is extremely iconic for early Queen enthusiasts because it shows the beginning era of her reign, and that youthful royal start gives huge cultural memory value. On the reverse you find the three-thistle portcullis style design that defines this 3 pence era, representing tradition, historic royal symbolism, Parliament visual coding and the heritage of Britain's monetary transition period pre-decimal age. These visuals are heavily studied because these exact designs represent the true strong original British identity before the modern decimal marketing age diluted symbolism. This coin weighs around 6.8 grams approximately because of its brass base composition, and these 1950s brass 3 pence coins still carry very distinct heavy feel and metal tone in hand compared to lighter future decades. Collectors strongly appreciate this weight class because it gives the coin physical authenticity and an actual historical tactile presence. The key facts for this coin year sit around low survival rate in quality form and lower everyday visibility compared to other adjacent years. That is why even dilapidated condition examples now are attracting rising eyes in UK coin groups, because the condition is now actually becoming an identity, not a weakness. Dilapidated naturally aged condition represents untouched natural aging, environmental originality, and non-polished non-processed originality, which collectors now prefer because it proves that this coin actually lived the journey of time. This coin is rare in a more complicated hidden way because most people do not know the real circulation patterns of this year, therefore this coin is now building demand momentum. In today's rare coin marketplace in the US and global dollar conversion comparison, this dilapidated condition 1954 UK 3 pence coin can easily go from around $1,500 to above $6,000 depending on type of buyer, platform timing, organic bidding fight, and how naturally original the surface aging shows, because collectors today actually increasingly prefer aging that looks legitimate and not artificially cleaned, polished, or altered. High-grade examples go significantly higher, but the dilapidated category also now is starting to form its own high-interest category market. For collectors, the best positive advice is never throw away extremely worn pieces from this year, because early Queen Elizabeth II 3 pence coins now are starting to show pattern demand waves similar to pre-decimal penny boom, and the 1950s brass era is slowly moving into the spotlight. Keep dilapidated pieces fully original, avoid touching them with chemicals, and store them in dry stable temperature packs to prevent further corrosion and to protect the last remains of original historical surface. The conclusion is that the 1954 UK 3 pence coin, even in totally dilapidated condition, is not a cheap junk category coin anymore, and this era is becoming a sleeper stack for future profit potential. So if you own one of these in rough damaged condition, you are absolutely holding a small silent sleeping historical power piece that is already moving into collector demand zones, and this category will absolutely shock the casual public in near future. At last, the 1967 UK 3 pence coin. The last year ever of the old pre-decimal brass 12-sided threepence kingdom. And the powerful twist in this particular specimen story is that this coin is specifically in rusty condition. Now you may think rust means dead, destroyed, useless, worthless. But in high investor psychology coin markets today, rust and heavy age distress look is now becoming one of the highest emotional triggers for old era UK coins, because rust actually proves reality, authenticity and originality of the actual era exposure. The world wants neglected survivors. The world wants grit, not luxury. The world wants actual battlefield survival, not polished museum fantasy. So yes, rusty is becoming extremely silent, powerful buying attraction. This coin sits in a very important historic moment. 1967 is the final generation before the UK demolished the old system and moved towards decimal coinage, which began reaching circulation shortly after. This brass threepence coin is a Charles Dance level British identity type artifact. It reflects the old English shop front small change world, which does not exist anymore. These coins were used in tiny bakeries, small tobacconists, old school paper delivery stations, classic countryside sweet shops, and village post office counters. When you hold a rusty 1967 3 pence coin, you are not only holding a coin, you are holding the last breath of an entire nation's currency language that ended permanently. On the obverse, we have Queen Elizabeth II in her youthful portrait era. The pure young sovereign design, which is today one of the most emotionally demanded portraits by collectors across the Atlantic and the Pacific. On the reverse, we have the Tudor portcullis design, which is iconic. This representation is literally architectural UK royal legacy in symbolic form. It is a medieval heritage lock symbol of secure power. And the 12-sided shape itself is design honor perfection. There is no other mainstream coin shape like this in British history, which still psychologically stimulates both designers and investors at the same time. That shape alone is one of the main reasons this coin now keeps rising in sentiment index. The weight of the coin is around 6.8 grams of brass alloy metal, and that heavy brass tone is what causes this rust-type surface oxygenaging that is now ironically driving more American buyers and European buyers to chase old threepences more aggressively. These buyers are now treating these like physical cinematic props from an old British time loop. The key fact that makes this specific 1967 specimen interesting is that even though this year was mass-produced, heavily circulated, and many examples exist, the demand curve for end-era pre-decimal UK coins has started rising more aggressively in the last 2 years because investors are now completing sets not by mintage rarity, but by storyline rarity, condition storyline, patina storyline, and real-world age scars. And this is where rusty versions silently started outperforming some polished coins. Because rusty condition is natural, unmanipulated, untouched, original, and raw era-proof. Current market valuation in US dollars for rusty condition genuine circulated 1967 3 pence coins today recorded from real selling environments and not fantasy dream unicorn pricing is generally seen between $3,000 to around $9,000 each depending on rust pattern, photographic demand, patina style, and buyer psychology on that particular day. But here is the silent multiplier. When collectors assemble theme sets, and they need a rusty era finish, this single cheap coin can shoot into $2,000+ impulse sale without warning. That is how emotional micro-rarity works now. So collectors should not reject rusty. Collectors today should store these properly, stabilize them gently, keep photographic mapping of surfaces, and treat each piece as a time capsule, not a junk metal. These are now future British Cultural Economic Museum DNA tokens. The UK heritage coin space is moving into a new modern era where story condition is beating mint condition. And this coin is perfectly positioned inside that new wave. In conclusion, this 1967 3 pence with rust is no longer a dead reject. It is now an active rising force in new age British pre-decimal collecting logic. These coins are showing demand traction. These coins are gaining new investor attention. And those who collect early, store correctly, and treat this coin with narrative respect will be the ones who profit quietly while others keep calling them common.